Hello, 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 hello. Alrighty. Nice. Very cool. Alrighty. Music News 360. We're here with Liz Cooper at the Chapel in San Francisco. Beautiful sunny day. Very excited to be speaking with Liz. How are you doing, Liz?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm great.
Great.
Very excited to speak with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so you're in the middle of your tour.
We are. Yeah, I actually looked at that today. I think we're 16 days in. 16 about.
Yeah. West Coast tour.
West Coast.
You enjoying the West Coast?
I do. I love it. I mean, and especially this time of year compared to the East Coast, it's, starting to get really humid out there and brutally hot. And so out here, it's like, I think I did not pack as well as I should have. Like, it's kind of cold.
Yeah, it's a little chilly, especially here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I live in Oakland, so it's a little warmer, but
yeah, we were on the beach today a little bit. I guess by the Golden Gate, and it was really, really windy, and I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, I hope you brought a jacket.
This is it.
Going up to Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Montana
Vancouver
and stuff.
too.
Vancouver.
Yeah. I'll have to find all my layers.
Yeah. Maybe you can pick something up.
Yeah, I wanna walk around and check out some stuff around here. I've never been to this area. It seems cool.
It's cool. It's kind of like Williamsburg, West Coast.
Okay, got it.
If I may editorialize it. But
sure.
Some fun questions to get started. What would you say is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal? Oh my gosh. I think it changes all the time. I think I see certain people that just on different occasions, like people that really just like don't give a shit and they're just like doing something kind of weird.
Yeah.
That you're like, wow, why are they doing that? Or I can't believe they're doing that. Usually those people are my spirit animals. But I guess like a spirit animal maybe would be, right now I feel like a snake.
Snake?
Yeah. I've always been really afraid of them, but they've been kind of like popping up in my life recently, and I've done some research on it, and I guess it's like, I mean, snakes have a lot of wisdom and they shed their skin, and it's like a growth thing.
Right.
They're just like constantly growing and finding themselves in a way.
Yeah,
so
like in dreams.
Well, there was one in my bathroom that was really awful and terrifying.
Yeah.
And my roommate Scott got rid of it. It scared me. And I've just been like, they've been finding me on like hikes and walks, and I'm wearing a snake ring right now. Yeah. I found one in Sedona randomly. Vortex. But yes, I don't know what that means, but I feel like snake. I feel like that's my spirit animal right now, and not like a bad way. It's like a good way, like kind of thing.
A lot of the ancient traditions see the snake as like the Kundalini energy.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like your primal energy coming up into your brain.
Yeah.
Like ancient Egypt, it's like the pharaohs had the cobras on the forehead and stuff.
It's like the third eye.
Yeah.
The snake. That's my spirit animal.
Cool. What's your astrological sign?
I'm a Leo.
Leo.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lion. If you had to describe your music as a texture, what would it be?
Oh, I like that. I would say there's a few textures. I think I like the shag rug because they're really soft and comfortable, and there's like something kind of nostalgic about them. But also, I feel like maybe we're a tree at the same time, like the texture of bark, where there's just, it's like seen some stuff maybe a little bit, and it's a little weathered down. Not that we're like weathered down or really that we have seen anything, because we're pretty young and we are, I don't know, we've been touring enough where we've just been doing this and we see stuff all the time. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like the texture of a tree is kind of that way too. It's, yeah.
Nice. So if is your music the beach, the mountains, or the desert?
I think Window Flowers is the mountain. And I think what I've been writing recently and what we're going to go record is more so all three combined.
Nice. What sparked your interest in music?
Oh man, I've just always loved it, but one of my earliest memories ever is riding around in my dad's truck listening to the Beatles, and I was like yelling "Can't Buy Me Love," and I've always loved the Beatles, and I think for me just kind of listening to their songs, and I've always just gravitated towards instruments, and they're just toys to me, so I would just play around on them. But yeah, I think my parents were really open to art and creativity and music, and so they always like gave me things to mess around with. My dad, he grew up playing drums, and I had pots and pans I would play like drums, and I think just always being around it in that way, and it wasn't like anybody was like trying to make me do it. I think I found it myself just from like it being presented to me, but not forced upon me. So
right.
I think me finding it myself kind of made me really fall in love with it.
Yeah, I'd read that your mom and your grandpa played guitar. Is that true?
My mom plays acoustic guitar, and so she had an acoustic guitar around the house, and that was the first guitar I started playing. And my grandpa on my mom's side, he played the organ, and he would do that in church. And my grandpa on my dad's side, he played and maybe still plays trumpet, but he played in like big bands in the like way back in the day. And my grandma plays the accordion sometimes for dramatic effect. She would bring it out at like dinners and holiday things, and she would always have this like really like have this like far away look when she's doing it, like just like very theatrical. But there are a lot of musical people in my family, but none of them really I don't know. I'm the first one that was like really obsessed with it, I think, though.
Yeah. How'd you develop your finger picking style?
Just practicing and playing, and getting bored with stuff. And so, like, when I first started playing, I would just learn little pop songs or whatever I liked at the time through guitar tabs or just like by ear. And after a while of just like learning these strumming songs, I was listening to a lot of like folk music and bluegrass stuff, and I was like, how do they do that? And so I just started messing around with these things, and would start to kind of develop the picking. And then at some point, like, it really, like, I somehow, like, my right hand just got really good at picking and knowing where all the strings are, so I'm not just like flubbing things. And
right.
I would say listening to a lot of folk and bluegrass music helped develop that.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Who would you say is your least obvious musical inspiration?
The least obvious?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's a tough one. What is obvious? What are people?
Well, I know, like, in your press, you've written that you like folk, psychedelia, 60s, 70s, like Neil Young, that music.
I guess something like, I do love pop music and like 90s pop. Like, I loved Destiny's Child and still love them, and like Beyonce, and so just listening to that kind of music, I feel like that more recently too, I feel like I've been really revisiting a lot of that kind of music, and that's kind of influencing certain melodies that I'm doing vocally. Right. And so it's interesting, because I think when I was like, especially with the last record and just over the past like amount of time to kind of where we are now, I never really like revisited all of that stuff, and I kind of was like, oh, fuck that, I'm not going to listen to it, you know. I was like, no, pop music, I'm like, okay, no, but I love it. I do love it. And so it's cool to kind of dive into that and revisit these things that I loved when I was a kid. And so yeah, we'll see how that kind of influences what I'm writing.
Yeah. How about guitar player? Who's your most influential guitar player?
There really isn't one person for me, but I've always loved Jerry Garcia, and I think like he does the way that I hear things, and like I because I do it all by feel, and I don't really know like theory of what I'm doing or like necessarily scales. I'm just listening and hearing, and for some reason my ear always goes to like it's the Mixolydian scale,
right.
And he did a lot of that, and I think because of how much I did listen to the Grateful Dead, that's definitely affected certain things I do with the guitar. And I try not to like get into that all the way, you know, because it's like that's their thing, and if you try to sound like the Grateful Dead, you just can't, because that's they made this sound that was so original. It's like if you sound anything like it at all, people are gonna be like, oh, it's like the Grateful Dead, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. So but I would say he definitely influenced me.
That makes sense. It's relevant to where you're playing today.
Exactly, which is very cool. I love that kind of music.
What would be your dream guitar rig?
Dream guitar rig? Oh God, I would like more Voxes. I'd like to run stereo with another, well, maybe not another
like
Vox,
delay.
but like maybe like an older, like a vintage amp, and just kind of have that on the other side of the stage. And so this blend of textures, like this different blend of textures would be happening. I don't necessarily, I keep like, yesterday we were in Santa Cruz, and this lady, Christina, she brought us pedals that her brother had made. His name's
really
Chuck
generous.
Buick. He passed away a few years ago, and he invented these pedals, you know, and built them. And she said she didn't play music, and she didn't want to sell them. She wanted to pass them along to people that she loves, and so she gave them to me. And I think that's kind of how a lot of my pedals have come about. It's just by like randomly stumbling upon things like that. And so right now I've got a new fuzz pedal, something that's kind of like I think it's a clone or a cone, or so I don't know. I'm not a huge gear nerd, but I think I like amps probably more than anything, and I like guitars. I play a Creston, and I love that, and I would like another Creston. Or like
shout
a
out
really,
to
really
Creston.
Old, shout out to Creston.
So you're based in Nashville.
Yeah.
Right? How do you think your music would be different if you had lived in any other town?
Oh man, it would be very different. I think moving to Nashville, I didn't know anything. And I wasn't really playing. I mean, like I basically started everything in Nashville. I started playing the guitar when I was at home and learning about that, but I really started to write right before I moved down to Nashville, and like making my own songs around then. And so I was influenced by country people, and just the East Nashville scene, I felt like was really starting to kind of have new life to it. And so I think I came in at the perfect time to like absorb all of these different kinds of music. And I think just the people that I linked up with and the stuff that I was interested in, and like the music that I really enjoyed, was at the root of it like rock and roll music. And I never really resonated with country music, although now I do really appreciate it, and like the lyricism, and it's just like fun and simple, but also like really honest. And that's
Right.
kind of what Nashville is about. It's like being honest and really honing in on your craft. And so I think that's it, that like dedication, or like just the working aspect of it, I feel like is different maybe in other cities than Nashville. I feel like people in Nashville don't really give a shit what you're wearing or who you are, or who your parents are, or whatever. It's like,
Right.
can you write a song, and are you speaking your truth? And I think I learned that living there. And I mean, I'm sure I would have absorbed very, very different things if I'd moved somewhere like here, or LA or New York or anything like that. But Nashville was, I somehow ended up there, really.
What up and coming Nashville acts would you recommend?
Nashville?
Yeah, the listeners keep an ear out for.
Yeah, Erin Ray, she's one of my favorite writers and singers, and just her music is beautiful. She's amazing. Yeah, I would say listen to her, listen to Becca Mancari. She's also an amazing writer, and I know she's been working on putting out some new music. I mean, there are a lot of people I feel like are coming out of Nashville right now, like Ron Gallo, and I know those guys are cruising along and doing their thing. But the Minks, they're another band that rock and roll, just straight up awesome rock and roll music. And Harpooner, just an amazing writer and arranger of it's kind of like Harry Nilsson and the Beatles, and there are a lot of people. Ian Ferguson. I don't know. I could go on and on. I think about all of this amazing music that's coming out of there, but it's true. There's a lot.
What's the meaning of Window Flowers? The title.
Well, there was a theme happening in my songs, a lot of flowers, and where I lived in Nashville when I was writing a lot of these songs, I lived in this basement apartment, and there weren't very many windows. And I think at that point in time, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is happening constantly, just like in the world, or whatever, like, where are we? But at that point in time, I think I was like really depressed and like just in a weird place, and like living in that basement apartment. I had a vase of flowers in my window, and they died, and they were still really beautiful, and so that was kind of a muse for me. And so yeah, the flowers in the window, and that just kind of resonated with me for a lot of the songs, or it just was like, it was a muse for me at the time. And so Window Flowers.
That's beautiful. I've noticed on Window Flowers, the arrangements have a lot of space. Was that a conscious decision?
I don't know. I think that just kind of happened. All the songs on the record I wrote on the acoustic guitar before I, presented them to, at the time, Kai Baker and then Grant Prettyman. And then from there, just with us touring so much, we learned how to play them. And I think when we went in, we were I think as a three-piece, there is a lot of space. And so I think when we went into the studio to record, we wanted I wanted to amp it up and for it to be a different experience than what we do live, but I also wanted to capture what we do live. And us as a three-piece, and now Ryan Usher is playing with us, we all kind of do our things separately but together, and it kind of ebbs and flows. You go in and out of each other.
Like the Grateful Dead.
It is, yeah. we our communication with each other is really good, and I think that's that's just kind of how we play, is how we communicate with each other. We don't necessarily, and that's another thing I take away from the Dead, is that we don't really do the same thing every night. We add in different things, and if you're not on the same page with somebody, you're gonna get lost. So it's a lot of eye contact, and like, you know, you're just kind of on your toes, which is fun for us, especially with how much we do this, you know, playing the same thing every single night. You gotta keep it interesting.
Definitely. And speaking of playing live, you've gotten to play with some big acts like Lord Huron and Phosphorescent. How has playing on these big stages in front of large audiences like influencing the evolution of your music?
It's huge. You play differently when in front of different people. You know, if you're playing in front of 10 people, you're going to play very differently compared to like 2,000 people. And so I think playing with like Lord Huron, those were some of the biggest audiences that we played in front of in theaters and whatnot. And I mean, there's just a lot to learn from that. You know, you're in this giant room. We don't have in-ears, so we're just using our monitors, which is really interesting. You know, it's like if you step away from where your monitor is, it's like quiet. And you're like, oh my God, this is so weird. But you just learn, I don't know, you feed off the energy of people and you somehow like amp it up. And so I think we've learned a lot from that. So like, we've just like changed things. Every show we learn something and we take something away from it, apply it into the next thing. So, but yeah, we learn from everyone that we tour with. You know, Lord Huron had like 3 buses, and you're just like, wow, everything is down to a T of perfection, and like their production it's intense. So, you know, we were like, we have to be really respectful and like get out of their way, like just like be there and do your thing, but stay the hell out of the way. And I think for Phosphorescent was also the longest tour that we ever did with a band, and that was really amazing, you know, because you actually get to know those people and you know who they are and what they do, and they've all been doing it for such a long time, and they all have different projects too, and it's just really interesting just hearing stories, and it's really cool.
Yeah. What's the strangest experience you've had on tour?
I mean, there's something like every day. Like what? Like at a show?
Or say, like, what's the strangest place you've crashed?
Strangest place that we've crashed would probably be, you know, we've gotten really lucky with not like having just like shitty motels and just weird things like that happening where, I don't know, sometimes it's awful and sometimes it's great. Sometimes you're like, wow, I'm not gonna sleep. Or like, yeah, I don't know necessarily how to answer that. There are a lot of weird things that happen out here though. Like, I would say the first night of the Phosphorescent tour was one of the stranger just like events of things that happened was like, I mean, New Orleans has a lot of really weird energy. And
voodoo energy.
Yeah. We have a voodoo doll in the van, and I think it protects us sometimes. But that night, Ryan was lifting up his kick drum after we played. Grant was bending down to pick something up, and the feet of the drum that have the spikes in it that keep it from moving, it collided into Grant's ear, and it was so close to going into his eardrum, and it didn't, but it, like, you know, he could have gotten a stitch probably, but he just had like tape or a Band-Aid or something on it. So that happened, and that was really weird, and it happened immediately after we played, so all of us were like in shock, and we were like, what do we do? But it could have been terrible. And then right after that we had to go from there to Austin, so we were driving through the night, and we were on the highway in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana. I was sleeping and I woke up to seeing this car next to us with this woman with her light was on in the car, and she was like just losing her mind. She was like making all these weird hand signals, and she was like doing this, like she was like punching her hands together, and like just we were like, is she okay? Is she trying to like tell us something? We can't tell. She got off at this exit, and we followed her off, and you know, pulled into this gas station. We were like cautious of her, but also we weren't sure if she needed help. And we got off at the last possible exit before there was this road closure because there was a shootout happening a mile down the road with like a police officer and a person there was like a car chase. And so this woman somehow had like the inside scoop of it, which we did find out through Waze, which was it was actually going down, but she like was going way out of her way to tell us to get off of that exit. And that was like what we did. And she was like, it was so bizarre. I don't know. It was just a really weird thing. And I'd never seen. Looking out for you. Yeah, she was looking out for us. It was very strange. But, yeah, it was weird.
Do you have any rituals that you do in the van to help pass the time?
We kind of have I feel like this tour we've been the most intentional and most conscious of space, giving each other space, and it's really important. We're never not together, so you have to find time to like be by yourself or whatever. But I've been trying to write a lot because we're going into the studio in June to make a new record, and so I've been in my phone just like writing, my notes, or I've been trying to record and like on my GarageBand in my phone, or I've just been trying to like escape, I guess, in that way. And but I don't know, we all read and we sleep. I don't know. Stare out the window, contemplate everything.
So it's a perfect segue. What do you think the next album will sound like?
I think it's going to be... There's going to be a vibe for sure. We're going to capture a vibe with just everything. But I think it's going to be a little bit more psychedelic, more intentional, maybe a little bit darker, but still, I don't know, just kind of different. Maybe a little, just more mature, I think, which would be the natural progression, I guess, of music and artistry. Is you've just learned a lot more from, just doing what you're doing compared to the last record. So I think it's going to be just different in that way.
When you say more psychedelic, do you think there will be more jams?
No. I don't. I mean, yes and no. I think just tones and what we're doing, like that song we checked with in Soundcheck, is a new song that we have been working on, and that kind of vibe, I guess, where it's like it's jams, but I love jamming, but I also hate the word jam because we are very intentional and like mathy in a way of what we do.
I see. We've used the word intentional in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, I guess we're more so of like that kind of stuff.
Okay. I've heard that Brittany Howard is a big fan of yours.
That's cool.
Like, do you think you two would ever collaborate?
I would love to. I think I need to get in touch with her. I think it would be the right thing to do. I would love to collaborate with her. I really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think something really cool could come of that. So yeah, we'll see.
Really cool. Okay, last question. If you could leave the world with only one message, what would it be?
I guess don't take everything as serious as you take it, and just maybe, no, that's not right. Yeah, I guess like just, yeah, don't take everything as seriously, really. Just I think if you do, you can get really stuck in a hole. And I mean, obviously things are very serious and whatever, but the beauty of life too is also to kind of go out of your comfort zone and just don't take things seriously sometimes. I think that's really healthy.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks so much, Liz.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Music News 360 signing off. We're at the Chapel in San Francisco with Liz Cooper and the Stampede. She's doing a tour across the United States on the West Coast. Her record's called Window Flowers, and it sounds like she's going to be doing a new one in June, so stay tuned for that. Signing off. Thank you.